Good morning, everybody. It's Monday on the Morning Night Live, and I'm here. I'm a little late. Just one of those days. Not having not having the greatest morning, but you know what? Coming here always makes it better. So anyway, I am got a whole bunch of stuff to get caught up on from the weekend, and it's going to be kind of headline day, not a whole lot of depth day, but I will have plenty for you to catch up on in the articles in the description down below, which I will link at the end of the show. So if you want details, well, do I have details? I got receipts. I got all kinds of stuff for you. So anyway, hope that you are all having a wonderful morning. Let's get it started by let me play the intro, because that's what I do. Play the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, PDawgKnight. All right, stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet. And welcome back to the Dawg Knight Channel on this lovely Monday, the 9th of August, 2021. The end of the weekend where we celebrated Lady Boomer's birthday. She had a nice birthday, but she's a little bit annoyed with me. Well, not with me, just annoyed in general. Just some things that didn't go the way she wanted them. But we did have fun at the weekend at the cabin, even though it rained, and we still got to do some of the things that we like to do. We actually got to golf. It stopped raining long enough to golf, and that was good, and that was fun. And we decided that we're going to get Lady Boomer some golf lessons because she wants to learn how to play better. She's kind of learning the ropes, but anyway, it was a good time, and I hope that hope you all had a good weekend too. Trying to think what else there was going on. Let's see. This is, what is this? This is I only sent notification on Twitter today. So if you're on other platforms, I apologize. Obviously you may not be here because you didn't see it, but, all right. So this is the 641st episode of the Morning Night Live. We're glad that you're here. Please hit the like button sometime during the show, share the stream out. That'll help get more people here. And if you want to sponsor the show, you can do that through SuperChats, Streamlabs, all kinds of stuff. Those prompters will pop up in the chat once in a while, or you can go to PDawgKnight.live, where you can also get a Resist Fascism shirt, hat, or cup. And there you go. That's my shill for the day. So let's just go ahead and get it. Now, I didn't spend a whole lot of time checking out Twitter this morning. I kind of went straight to a couple aggregators, and interesting though, one of the things that's being pushed today on Twitter that I just noticed is one, The Hill keeps putting up this article: right-wing radio broadcaster urges friends to get stupid 19 stabs shortly before he passed away. And there's a push. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. The 19. We're also going to talk about, they're still talking about the insurrection, but we're going to talk about politics. We got coup news. We've got, what else we got today? We've got, rough weekend in Chicago. Unfortunate that officer that was, she was taken in the line of duty. Really sad story. We'll talk about that. I don't have a lot of video today. I know that that there were certain people online that I would love to have video of: Jim Acosta, Lori Lightfoot, and there may be some in these articles. But again, I just wanted to get you caught up on the headlines mostly because because there's a whole lot of stuff that happened over the weekend. It just seems like there's always a lot of stuff going on lately, and it's hard to keep up on all of it. So we'll try to get you caught up on some of that stuff. How does that sound? I'm just looking at some of the worst Olympics ever. Oh yeah, the Olympics ended too. and the American contingent did come away with a lot of gold medals, the most medals and the most gold in the end. It wasn't one of the best Olympics for the United States when you're used to being dominant in the Olympics, but a lot of the world's catching up on a lot of things, and especially in some of the sports. We won the big ones, the men's basketball. That's always one of the big ones. But in track and field, we are almost shut out. I'm not used to that. I also am not used to. But there was also places where we did better than normal. So I mean, I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the news. I'm going to start with this this interesting story. It's in Human Events about the insurrection. I love doing that. We'll get it. But first, I got a first here. First, I got to say good morning to everybody who's here. I appreciate all of you who made it early, and I should say hi. So let's do that first. Why is this still up here? This should be unpinned. There we go. First in the chat today was Jonathan Peterson, who gets the bell. Thank you for being here, sir, and being here bright and early. Also, good morning, Avocados Diablo, Mike Savage, Blarg, Aaron Meredith. Nice to have you back. Good morning, Gun Fox 61, the administrator of our Discord server, which you can join if you click the link that pops up in the chat every once in a while. Also, good morning, Don Julio, Gulf City Biker Trash Man. Good morning, Tales of Gore, Tyler F. Sean DW is in the house. Welcome back. Attack Alpaca, what's going on? And Maddie from the House Geek, but I think she's switching to her other handle here, which she did. Also, good morning, Hate Camel. Also, the One Who. Good morning, Spud Gun. And Johnny Blaze is in the house. Renee Mayette. And others will pop in as they pop in. Oh, Small Man's in the house too. Good morning and afternoon, everyone. So, interesting development in the saga of the insurrectionist. I didn't hit the insurrectionists today. Apparently, and now this is an opinion piece in Human Events, but still, there's some facts in here that are interesting. The Biden Justice Department can't seem to produce the evidence it's supposedly used to indict the January 6th protest cases. They're offering pleas to misdemeanors and dismissing felonies, which violates written Department of Justice policies. Now, this is the one article I am going to go into a little in depth and not just quick headline, because it's a fascinating situation they have there. So there's been a severe lack of urgency in how the Biden Justice Department has gone about complying with its post-indictment due process obligations owed to defendants charged in connection with the January 6th protests / riots. Under federal law, the prosecution has no rights when it comes to criminal cases. All rights belong to and are owed to defendants by both the executive and judicial branches. It is the obligation of the executive to afford defendants their rights in the manner in which investigations and prosecutions are conducted. It is the duty of the judiciary to ensure that the defendant's rights are protected from deprivation by the misconduct of the executive until such time as the jury determines the defendant's guilt. In other words, they're violating the rights of these people big time. A few weeks back, DOJ prosecutors handling the January 6 cases began to file legal memoranda offering weak excuses for why they are unable to comply with their obligation to provide discovery consistent with federal rules and the defendant's right to a fair and speedy trial. These memoranda describe the undertaking that the DOJ now refers to as the, quote, capital breach, end quote, investigation. The documents tell a sad tale in which a poor, beset upon DOJ is saddled with overwhelming undertaking connected to the events on January 6th, made all the more impossible by the obligation to comply with the Constitution. Oh no! They have to comply with the Constitution? Oh, so sad. And court rules established to protect the rights of criminal defendants. Here's a passage from one such memorandum that was filed by the Biden Justice Department in the matter of the United States versus Timothy Hale Cusinelli. Quote, The government investigation into the breach of the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021, also known as the Capitol breach, has resulted in the accumulation and creation of a massive volume of data that may be relevant to many defendants. The government is diligently working to meet its unprecedented overlapping and interlocking discovery obligations by providing voluminous electronic information in the most comprehensible and usable format. Identical memoranda have been filed by the government in multiple other cases, as well as including the matter of United States versus Nathaniel DeGrave, United States versus Justin McAuliffe, and United States versus Aaron Mostofsky. Okay, I got it. Nothing in the passage above addresses the failure by prosecutors in innumerable cases to comply with, quote, Rule 16 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, end quote. Under the rule, a defendant is entitled, upon request, to production of certain evidence and information in the possession of the government. Two broad categories of material that fall within Rule 16 include any evidence the government intends to offer during trial to prove the defendant's guilt, and any records, documents, items, etc. in the possession of the government that are material to prepare the defense. In fact, in other words, there's very strong discovery rules in these cases, particularly in federal cases like this. Good morning, Zach Osborne, by the way. The DOJ's memo of woe continues, quote, the investigation and prosecution of the Capitol breach will be the largest in American history, both in terms of the number of defendants prosecuted and the nature of the volume of the evidence. In the 6 months since the Capitol was breached, over 500 individuals located throughout the nation have been charged with multiple criminal offenses. There are investigations open in 55 of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's 56 field offices. End quote. The circumstances confronting the Justice Department prosecutors here are entirely of their own making. No law or rule compelled the DOJ to file all of the cases at the earliest possible moment it could. Nothing prevented the DOJ management from, managing the caseload of filing cases in smaller numbers at the outset, starting with the most serious alleged offenders. This would have allowed prosecutors to work through the discovery problems in order to meet their obligations under the Constitution and procedural rules, rather than bringing the entire system to a grinding halt by needlessly dragging hundreds of people into court all at one time. The position adopted by the DOJ in its memorandum seeks to make the DOJ's problems the problem of the defendants and the court. The DOJ has an obligation to produce discovery that it cannot meet, and it seems to expect that the defendants and court are required to sit and wait while it solves its problems. But DOJ hopes in that regard are likely misplaced. The point was brought home to a DOJ prosecutor on July 30th during a status conference in Hale Cusinelli. The prosecutor had filed its memo of woe on July 15th. During the hearing, Judge Trevor McFadden, an appointee of President Trump, noted that the government was continuing to charge and arrest new defendants, even when it was telling the court and counsel that it was unable to comply with discovery obligations in the hundreds of cases that it had already filed. Hale Cusinelli has been detained without bond since his arrest on January 15th. So he's been in jail almost 8 months. Isn't this crazy? And the prosecutor told Judge McFadden, matter-of-factly, that the DOJ would not be able to meet its discovery obligations earlier than 2022. So, fair and speedy trial? Judge McFadden, however, was unmoved over the objections of the prosecutor, and despite her uncategorical statement that the government could not produce discovery ahead of the trial date, suggested Judge McFadden set trial in the case for November 9th, barely more than 3 months away. If the government fails to comply with its obligation to produce all discovery by the deadline imposed by the court, a variety of remedies are available to address such failures, including exclusion of evidence and or dismissal of charges. This discovery is more complicated than it might first appear. The biggest problem faced by the government is what to do about the supposed 14,000 hours of videotape footage captured by both the open and hidden surveillance cameras that cover the entirety of the Capitol and its surrounding buildings and grounds. Now, they should have gotten... and this is one of the complaints that the defense is having. They're not being allowed to see the 14,000 hours of videotape footage. And there's an obligation by the government to provide that as part of discovery. Hello, Thomas Cleaver. First, I see you. Yeah, they can't produce anything what they actually have either. Yeah, good point there, Avocados Diabli. So that footage exists, and it is in the possession of the prosecutors and the FBI. And under federal criminal law, the government is deemed to have knowledge of everything captured on that footage, whether it is actually examined and cataloged the video or not. If there is anything that might arguably be described as exculpatory in that massive volume of video, the law applies the concept of constructive knowledge of that evidence to the government in a criminal prosecution. In a case called Kiles versus Whitley, I'm not sure what it is, 1995, the Supreme Court held that prosecutors are deemed by law to have knowledge of all the facts about a case that are known to their investigators or contained in the case file, even if the prosecutors have no actual knowledge of some of the facts. So let's take that 14,000 hours of footage, for example. Regardless if they've watched all of that footage, because they have it in their possession, the court says they know exactly what's there. And if there's exculpatory evidence, they should already know about it. And if there's, I tell you what, if any of these cases, there'll be a case where, you know, the facts just show that the person just was walking around and kind of wandered in. That can be a problem for them. It's depending on what they're charging them with. So the problem for the prosecutors on the January 6th case is that Kiles can be used by the defense to argue that the prosecutors and agents are deemed to know and have an obligation to produce prior to trial whatever exculpatory might exist in the 14,000 hours of videotape. This will be true even if they have no actual knowledge of such exculpatory evidence as it might relate to an individual defendant in a particular case. The failure to produce that evidence in discovery prior to trial constitutes what's known as suppression, i.e. a violation of Brady versus Maryland from 1963. In other words, the fact that the DOJ has not been able to review all 14,000 hours of footage is not an excuse for failing to meet the government's obligation under the Constitution to provide notice of exculpatory evidence to the attorneys for the hundreds of January 6 defendants. It cannot meet this obligation simply by making all 14,000 hours available to the defense. It must provide information to the defense about where in that massive amount of data such evidence might be found. Understanding this constitutional burden, however, the prosecutors in Hale Cusinelli case was quite clear in stating the DOJ will not be able to comply with its obligations prior to November 9th, the trial date set by Judge McFadden. This circumstance is not unique to that one case. If the government cannot provide discovery of the video evidence, it may or may not include exculpatory material in the Hale Cusinelli case until sometime in 2022. Then it cannot provide that discovery in any of the hundreds of cases it has filed. The government's confession that it is unable to timely process and review the thousands of hours of footage along with the social media posts, location history data, and the cell phone tower data for thousands of devices present inside the Capitol has likely reduced the outcomes in a growing number of cases seen in the past several days. In 3 cases, the Biden Justice Department accepted guilty pleas to misdemeanors where a felony charge was alleged in the indictment returned by the grand jury. Many of the indictments sought in the January 6 protest cases include a mix of both felony and misdemeanor crimes alleged to have been committed by the named defendants. A plea agreement is a document that establishes an agreement between the prosecution and the defense as to how the charges will be resolved. Ordinarily, this would include a guilty plea to one or more of the crimes alleged in the indictment, combined with an agreement by the prosecution to dismiss all the remaining charges. A plea agreement in a federal case is an agreement made only between the prosecution and the defendant. The court is not involved in negotiating the terms of the agreement and is not party to the agreement. A plea agreement that dismisses charges filed by a grand jury must be accepted by the court before it becomes valid. If the judge rejects the terms of the agreement, the case goes forward to trial and all the crimes charged in the indictment. If the liberal judges, who make up a vast majority of the judges presiding over the January 6th protest cases, are accepting these petty misdemeanor guilty pleas while dismissing felonies, that too is a comment on the manner in which these cases are being handled, because the judges know the outcomes violate DOJ policy. So there's a lot more in this, but that was kind of where I wanted to go there. They are clearly, I don't know what they're doing. It's clearly a cluster, sounds like duct. And they may have to plea out a lot of these cases to misdemeanors. And if they're not going through the 14,000 hours of evidence and being able to provide exculpatory evidence, or be able to point out any possible exculpatory evidence to the defense, a lot of their cases are going to turn out into these plead out misdemeanors, and we'll have a lot of people in the media very, very upset with our Department of Justice. All right, real quick. Thank you, Thomas Cleaver, with a bullet, with no message. I see it here, and thank you very much. But then Thomas Cleaver comes back again with another bullet, the 357, saying, in the immortal words of Thomas Cleaver, kapow! Thank you, sir. And Thomas Cleaver,
you are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day.
Thank you very much for sponsoring the Morning Night Live. If you want to sponsor Morning Night Live, there's that little $sign down in the chat, or you can wait for the link to Streamlabs popping through the chat. We appreciate anyone who can sponsor the show. Also, hit the like button right now while you're thinking about it. We're up to 28 people in the chat. That's nice. I like seeing it. Hit the like button while you're thinking about it, and share the stream. All right, now we're just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try to just get through a lot of this fast because I got so many things open. According to Dick Durbin, apparently he was on State of the Union over the weekend, and he's saying to, who did he say this to? Dana Bash, that that forces within the White House push back against Trump's coup attempt. I don't know why they keep saying coup attempt. This is weird. Anyway, Durbin says forces within the White House push back against Trump's coup attempt. Majority Whip Dick Durbin, I'll just let that sink in, said Sunday on CNN State of the Union that there were forces within the White House that pushed back at former President Donald Trump's claim he actually won the 2020 presidential election. Anchor Dana Bash said your committee interviewed Jeffrey Rosen, who was the acting attorney general for Donald Trump at the end of his presidency. Rosen was reportedly getting calls from Trump nearly every day about overturning election results. What did he tell you? Well, Durbin said he told us a lot. 7 hours of testimony. I might quickly add this was done on a bipartisan basis. Oh, so apparently, probably Mitt Romney and I don't know who else would have been there. Anyway, probably Mitt Romney was on the committee. That's why, to say it was bipartisan. Democratic staff and Republican legal staff asking questions during this period of time. Mr. Rosen appeared voluntarily, which says a lot, cooperated with us. The Justice Department had set it up for us and said we are waiving any privilege. He could speak to any issue. We're not holding back. I thought he was very open. There's a lot there, an awful lot there. You can imagine 7 hours of testimony. Well, they can ask some questions for 6 days, and it doesn't mean there's a lot there. Anyway, the point is they're saying that Donald Trump was really pushing like different departments, the Justice Department and others, to get involved in the election, and they didn't. They pushed back, and they saved democracy. Anyway, do we want to watch any of this? How long is this? Let's see how long it is. It's going to be a commercial first, I bet. Let's do that. I told you. Can you get rid of... Cedar Rapids. Anyone been to Cedar Rapids, Iowa? It's whatever, nice little town, I guess. I don't know why they have alpacas in Cedar Rapids, but that's weird. Anyway, how long is this clip? Maybe it's short. We can listen to it real quick. Anyway, if it's not that long, you can listen to it. I'll have this link. Obviously, all these links will be in the description down below. Cedar Rapids. I've never been. I've been to Cedar Rapids once. Here we go. Let's see. Oh no, we're not going to listen to a 9-minute interview. Hell with that. Okay, forget it. Nope. Anyway, if you want to watch that interview with Dick Durbin, it's Dick Durbin. You know what to expect. Didn't they call their star witness AOC? She was fearing for her life. She almost, AOC on January 6th, she almost died. Did you hear about that? She almost died. That's what she said. Not sure how, but anyway, just like Cori Bush has had attempts on her life. Anyway, here's an interesting case in the city of Cleveland. Someone named Bashir Jones, who apparently hates America, but he wants to be the mayor of Cleveland. Bashir Jones is a Cleveland city councilman and candidate for mayor of Cleveland in the upcoming September 14th primary election. He's unusually forthright, even for a 21st century Democratic politician, about his contempt for the land in which he seeks elected office. Jones is devout, observant Muslim, and already, according to Cleve Scene, his personal religious beliefs and organizational ties had become linked with his campaign. Jones made a number of questionable campaign expenditures in 2020 to international Muslim organizations and figures, including expenses likely related to his December travels in Egypt and the sponsorship of a Muslim orphanage there and a Quranic school in Senegal. What's more, a recent controversial video shows Jones saying, quote, "Women are not our leaders." I won't read the article, but I'll link it to you there. Like Muslim spokesmen all over the Western world, when confronted with statements that are politically inconvenient, insist that his words were taken out of context. But that is not remotely the worst of it. On Sunday, the RAIR Foundation published an expose on Jones that contained audio of Jones speaking on January 3rd, 2016, and making fun of Muslim immigrants who were thankful to be in the United States, and recited the Pledge of Allegiance. Quote, "Before 9/11, Jones asserts, our people, our brothers and sisters from the migrant communities, like America's a great place. Oh, it's the land of the free and the home of the brave." You see, the imams, big imams on stage singing, Here the crowd starts to laugh softly. Jones chuckles a bit along with them and continues, "I pledge allegiance to the flag, This is the greatest place in the world." This he's making fun of them. "And we were telling you, no, it's not. We know this place. This place we know that guy, something about him." And then 9/11 hit and everybody started coming to us. "Brother, please come march with us. Stand, brother. We've been telling you that they'll change on you just like that, man." Anyway, he was referring to American authorities supposedly turning on Muslim communities after 9/11 and subjecting them to Islamophobic counter-terror measures. In any case, his contempt for the grateful immigrants and "I told you so" implication that he somehow has been vindicated after 9/11 when America proved to be not so a great place after all, ought to have raised eyebrows among those who backed Jones for Cleveland City Council and are now supporting his mayoral ambitions. There is no indication, however, that anyone was concerned in the slightest with their candidate's anti-Americanism. We are, after all, talking about the Democratic Party, the party that stood by and did nothing when Representative Ilhan Omar tweeted, "We must have the same level of accountability and justice for all victims of crimes against humanity. We have seen unthinkable atrocities committed by the U.S., Hamas, Israel, Afghanistan, and the Taliban." I asked the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, where people are supposed to go for justice. Yeah, she was comparing the United States to the Taliban. Well, this guy, yeah, you can read the rest, but he's not... Now, he's very anti-American and he's running for mayor, let's put it that way. But so at least he look, if he doesn't like how America's going, I suppose I have to give him credit for running for office. I certainly hope that Islam is right about women. Damn. Spud gun. I disavow. Repeal the 19th. Anyway, so that dude. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is that article from, what is this from? one of the channels in Cleveland showing Cleveland mayoral candidate Bashir Jones declaring, "Women are not our leaders. We are their leaders." Here, is this it?
And out of those comments made by...
Oh, and we get an ad. Hang on. Let's see if we can skip the ad. I hate it when they don't give you a chance to skip ads. It'll end in 11 seconds, though. So here's Bashir Jones saying that women are not our leaders. Oops. Hang on. There we go.
And mayoral candidate Bashir Jones drawing controversy tonight. Mark Namick has exclusive details and reaction.
And I'm talking to the men. Where's the men? Why are we not leading our women? They are not our leaders. We are their leaders.
In a short video circulating on social media, Cleveland councilman and mayoral candidate Bashir Jones urging men not to cede leadership to women in their households.
Oh, you want to be weak in your household? Oh, she'll step up and take it over. And you got a little bit of time, brother, because it's almost over for you, believe me.
The video drawing attention among mayoral campaigns and others.
Whatever. We're moving on. Rand Paul is imploring Americans to choose freedom over potential lockdowns. Time for us to #resist. I got to tell you, when a Republican says resist, the media is not kind to them. Anyway, Senator Rand Paul urged Americans to resist potential forthcoming lockdown measures, saying that the country could not go back to the state that it was last year. Agreed, sir. In a video that he posted on his Twitter account on Sunday that closely resembled an op-ed he wrote for Fox News last week, Paul said it is time for us to resist. They can't arrest all of us. Does he have that here? It might be down here. Here it is. Let's just watch here.
It's time for us to resist. They can't arrest all of us. They can't keep all of your kids home from school. They can't keep every government building closed, although I've got a long list of ones they might keep closed or might ought to keep closed. We don't have to accept the mandates,
the IRS,
lockdowns, and harmful policies of the petty tyrants and bureaucrats. We can simply say no, not again. Nancy Pelosi, you will not arrest or stop me or anyone on my staff from doing our jobs. We have either had COVID, had the vaccine, or been offered the vaccine. We will make our own health choices. We will not show you a passport. We will not wear a mask. We will not be forced into random screenings and testings so you can continue your drunk with power reign over the Capitol. President Biden, we will not accept your agency's mandates or your reported moves towards a lockdown. No one should follow the CDC's anti-science mask mandates. And if you want to shut down federal agencies again, some of which aren't even back to work yet, I will stop every bill coming through the Senate with an amendment to cut their funding if they don't come back to work in person. Local bureaucrats and union bosses, we will not allow you to do more harm to our children again this year. Children are not at any more risk from COVID than they are from the seasonal flu. Every adult who works in schools...
I got to cut him off there because I can't trouble for that. Anyway, you get the point. Resist. #resist. If you want to watch the rest of it, it's in the Daily Wire article that I'll have linked below. But he is, it's fascinating because there are a lot of hints that there is a push to have mask mandates, vaccine mandates in a lot of different professions. But two giant unions let's just say the one in particular that caused us a lot of trouble, aka the teachers unions, they're fighting a vaccine mandate in all these states, and so are some of the airline unions. The flight attendant unions are fighting vaccine mandates, and it's interesting because that's a big constituency of the Democrats. And I hate to tell you this, but also another big constituency of the Democrats happens to be those BIPOC people they keep talking about, and some of the most jab hesitant people are BIPOCs. So this is an interesting fight because the Biden administration is dead set, or at least I would say Biden administration, well, the CDC and the Biden administration are dead set on pushing these different mandates. And you got governors like DeSantis and Abbott and a few others that are resisting that. Also on that note, I noticed something the other day because I was looking at one of these charts and it was saying, the places where you're starting to see the surge in cases and surge in hospitalizations, which I'm just skeptical every time I read it because it's so lopsided based on where they're going to emphasize. And right now they keep emphasizing Texas and Florida. And Florida does have I think the highest percentage of new cases of any state. But the number 2 state with the second highest percentage of new cases and the number 3 state are Hawaii and Louisiana. And Texas is down about 10, 12, even though numerically, yes, they have a lot of new cases, but percentage-wise, not so much, right? Compared to these other states. But has any of you ever heard anyone talk about Hawaii or Louisiana? And why pray tell are they not complaining about those 2 states? Now granted, Florida and Texas are 2 of the 4 biggest states population-wise, but what about Hawaii and Louisiana? You ever heard anyone complaining about Louisiana? Anyone complaining about Hawaii and how their cases are just soaring and this and that and blah, 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 blah? Oh, wait. Do they have Democratic governors? Is that what they have? Oh, that's what it is. The governors there are Democrats, so they're not talking about those states. Anyway, thank you, Black Hebrew Israelite with the deuce via YouTube Super Chat, who says, Islam is right about women. Repeal the 19th.
That's right.
Oh, I will not. 90% of the cases in Texas are from illegal aliens. There are a lot. I tell you that there's obviously a disconnect there. So according to Fauci, the mandates are coming, says Fauci, Dr. Fauci. By the way, I must remind you at all times, resist Faucism. Resist Faucism. Cups and hats and shirts at PDawgKnight.live. The mandates are coming. Fauci says full FDA approval will inspire a flood of vaccine I can't say that word. Stab requirements. Yeah, I didn't disavow that, did I? I just said I'm sidestepping the question. Dr. Anthony Fauci said Friday that businesses and schools across the country will issue a flood of stab mandates as soon as the FDA issues full approval for the stupid 19 vagine. Organizations, enterprises, universities, colleges that have been reluctant to mandate at the local levels will feel much more confident, Fauci told USA Today. Well, freaking-tastic, I guess. I'm just curious, though. So normally, I encourage people who are especially in vulnerable cases to get the jab. I'm not against the jab per se, but are they wasting it on people who've already had it, who've already had the 19 like myself, which I haven't had the jab yet. But I'm not anti-jab. I just think you should be jabbing the vulnerable populations. And right now, the Utes are not the vulnerable population. Although there are, it's funny, I saw a thing the other day where they're finding, they're saying, oh, lots of youths in the hospital, but not from stupid 19, from a respiratory disease that kids are tending to get. It's not necessarily a disease. It's not a threat, but one of those diseases that you get from not being outside, from being indoors too much. and not being around. Excuse me. Holy crap! I don't have my reparations with me today. Unfortunately, I forgot. Anyway, there's a lot of kids being hospitalized with another respiratory disease that is related to like inactivity or whatever. I don't know that they normally would be, when they're more. Let me think of the name of it. Well, maybe it'll be in one of these articles. So, but anyway, so again, there are consequences from the lockdowns and from having, kids stay indoors and stay at home all the time. So anyway, Fauci's, they can say if you want to come to this college or university, you've got to get the stab. He added, if you want to work in this plant, you have to get the stab. If you want to work in this enterprise, you have to get the stab. If you want to work in this hospital, you have to get the stab. There's nurses unions. There's nurses unions also fighting. Yes, RSV. Thank you, Advocate Siabli. There's a rampant cases of RSV going around among youths. And then he told the USA he doesn't anticipate any more lockdowns. Well, if you're locked out of working, that's a sort of lockdown, isn't it? If you choose not to. The rationale for shutting down was that the hospital system would not be able to handle the surge of cases because everyone's getting sick. Except, surge of cases? Again, there's a lot of cases. Are the hospitalizations going up exponentially? Because it's interesting. For example, they keep talking about Florida, right? The Florida that the hospitals are being overwhelmed there. But then there was a conference of the hospital administrators. They were saying, what are they talking about? We're at 80% capacity, which hospitals are generally set up to run around 90-95% capacity, and they're over capacity when they're near 100%. But hospitals normally run at about a 90% capacity, and these people at this conference are saying, well, wait, we're seeing more cases, but we're seeing a lot of things in our hospitals that are things people put off during the height of the pandemic. And so now the hospitals are nearing capacity again because people are starting to come in and getting some of their other surgeries and things like that done, or other issues that they would be hospitalized for. So I don't know. It's really weird that they keep pushing this. Anyway, so Fauci, look for lockdowns, look for mandatory jabs if the FDA approves it, according to Fauci. Hello, Mass Creations. How you doing? Also, why are you so angry in the house? Kiever Dam. Also, somebody else came in here that I saw and didn't say hi to. Sean D. I already got. Yeah. Why are you so angry? Yes, I got that. Okay, maybe I'm caught up. Okay, fine. I see how y'all are. All right, let's keep going. Biden says, this was good. The president says that 350 million Americans have been vaccinated. Well, that's fantastic. There's only 332 million people in the country, but here's Joe Biden. I'm sorry. Let me properly introduce this. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Taking a needless toll on our country. We have roughly 350 million people vaccinated in the United States, and billions around the world.
That's amazing.
And virtually no one's died because of that vaccination.
Ooh, that's an interesting statement. So, I know, I can't remember, but what country was it? Which is actually giving out their numbers of people who now we don't know that they died from the vaccination, but they certainly died in very close proximity to it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take the vaccination, but that nobody has died. And then 350 million people. Now I wonder. Well, let me see what else. Let me allow him to finish his thought.
But even so, the impact is going to be very different than what happened last January. As I said again and again, this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. So we have to get more people vaccinated.
Well, and lots of people are getting the Delta variant, whether they're vaccinated or not.
Well over, what's the number again? I remind myself, 350 million Americans have already been vaccinated.
Wait, he said it twice?
They're doing
He said it twice? Now, here is my question. 15,000 have died from the jab. Yeah, that's what I was understanding. I understand that a lot have died from the jab. But I think he was saying that nobody has died from the disease post-jab of the breakthrough cases. But even then, I think there's been some. It's extremely rare. Okay. Here's my guess. My guess is it possible that they have done 350 million stabs? Does that sound about right? If you say about half the population times two, because we're over 50% of the country's fully vaccinated, which means now if you take out the Johnson & Johnson, have they done 350 million jabs versus that many people being vaccinated? But still, he said it twice. That 350 million Americans have been vaccinated.
Fine.
Okay, so that was that's extra stuff that I don't need. The population of the United States, according to the Census Bureau, is 332,600,000 roughly. And but he said it twice, that 350 million Americans have been. And anyway, that's just Joe.
You know the thing.
Moving on. Now they have some emails that confirm the origin of the lab director's infection. Emails exchanged between virologists in February of 2020 revealed lab-based transmission of SARS-2, the virus that caused the stupid 19 pandemic, in the Beijing-based facility under the control of the Chinese Communist Party. Obtained by the Right to Know Foundation under the Freedom of Information Act, the email exchange is the latest piece of evidence to affirm the lab origins of the 19. February 14, 2020 email exchange reveals Ohio State virologist Shan Lu Lui admits the former director of the lab he previously worked at, the National Institute for Viral Diseases Control and Prevention, has now been infected with SARS-CoV-2. Subsequent emails show Lui reiterating, yes, he was infected in the lab when asked by another researcher if your former colleague was infected with SARS-2 in the lab. Now, I don't know. This goes into shows you the email and stuff. I'm not 100% sure if this is a February 14th email exchange and they're saying that his boss in the lab got it in the lab. Was he the first person to get it? I mean, but the fact that he was infected in the lab just tells you that it was in the lab. If that's what we're saying. Hello, Aaron. Aaron, you're already here. My state put out a number around 30 that have died with breakthrough cases. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, it's possible that was the number of doses and not people vaccinated, but if that's true, the person who writes his notes needs to talk to you. Well, they need to kick his ass. But you know what? And again, it's just him, how he reads things, how he looks at things, and what comes out of his biscuit hole does not always match what is in his brain. So that's just it. Anyway, so this is interesting. They have an email that says that yes, that's where someone got that disease in the lab in the country of origin that shall not be named. All right, moving on. Also, let's go into Governor Cuomo a little bit, because his drama is certainly increasing, and the name of the show today, closing in. You've heard that phrase every now and then over the last 5 years or so. The walls are closing in. Yes, Governor, the walls are closing in on Governor Cuomo, and we're not talking about someone's sugar walls. If you know what I'm talking about, you're an 80s kid. Governor Cuomo's Whoa, what the hell is that? Governor Cuomo's top aide, Melissa DeRosa, resigns. Her longtime secretary and confidant, Melissa DeRosa, depicted as the governor's enabler and enforcer in covering up his sexual abuses in the state attorney general's probe, resigned from her post Sunday evening. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve the people of New York over the past years. And she said in a statement, New Yorkers' resilience, strength, and optimism through the most difficult times has inspired me every day. And Never mind. I was going to say something really rude about Andrew Cuomo's conduct with Melissa DeRosa, but I will not do that because that is not kind or friendly. She said, personally, in the past years, I've been emotionally and mentally trying. I'm forever grateful for the opportunity to have worked with such talented and committed colleagues on behalf of our state. Now, it's interesting. She's talking about working for the people of New York, but notice she didn't mention Cuomo in that statement. Maybe she did in the full statement. But report describes how DeRosa, whom Cuomo himself reportedly affectionately referred to as one of his mean girls, took an active role in dismissing the accusations from current and former aides against the governor. Yeah,
comments made by Bashir Jones drawing controversy
hell?
tonight.
Shut up! I gotta find. Hang on a second.
And reaction.
Let me see if I can find that so I can turn it off. Where's the beef? Councilman Bashir. Sorry, guys. Here we go. We will cancel that. Shut up. In fact, I'm gonna close that page. You can find that link in there by yourself. It'll be in there. All right. Anyway, so the walls are closing in on Governor Cuomo. Speaking of Governor Cuomo himself, though, so Melissa DeRosa's designed his right hand gal, and where his right hand may have, never mind. And one of the accusers has filed a criminal complaint. Now, I mentioned this briefly on Saturday when I was driving to the cabin. If you were watching on Saturday, apparently one of the accusers is coming forward after filing a criminal complaint. An unnamed woman whose allegations of sexual harassment against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo were described in the state attorney general's report has come forward after formally filing a criminal complaint late last week. Brittany Camaso, 32, revealed to CBS this morning in an interview set to air Monday that she was his executive assistant number one. If Melissa DeRosa, is that her name? If she has any stories of her own, just curious. Anyway, one of 10 other accusers, Camaso, told state investigators that the governor had repeated inappropriate contact with her. According to a report, Camaso has accused Cuomo of frequently hugging and kissing her, including once on the lips, grabbing her butt during a photo, and reaching under her blouse and grabbing her hoots. She used her breasts. What he did to me was a crime, she told CBS News. He broke the law. So, interesting. One of his very close assistants filed a criminal complaint. We'll see where that goes. I'm still of the idea that none of this is really going to go anywhere and Cuomo's going to survive this. Kind of like Ralph Northam survived his blackface or white hood, which one he was, and many Democratic governors seem to weather these storms. And I think it's a distraction still from the real issue of him killing many, many old people. Good morning, Asian Research Director at Jade and Emerald, and Jesse Leon and Jaeger Pony, my favorite Canadians in the house. Nice to see you guys. And I think this is a smokescreen. I really do. I think that, because remember, the state attorney general, Letitia James, decides that she has all this evidence, but she's not pressing any charges. Now, maybe, just maybe, this criminal complaint is going to go somewhere. I just feel like, and maybe she has good ones. I don't know. In the chat, you tell me, yes or no. Cuomo going down, or Cuomo will be fine? Put down or fine in the chat. He's either going down or he'll be fine. I'm just curious what your thoughts are at this early juncture. I mean, obviously it looks bad that he has a criminal complaint now, and they say they have a lot of evidence, but I'm so jaded on this. I think he's a Democrat. It's not going to do anything. Bill Clinton survived the blue dress, but that was a whole different of a subordinate who he had sex with, of sorts. And he survived it. I'm not buying it. It's fine. Democrat will help him. He's going down. They'll send him to check out the amenities at Gitmo first. No, Cuomo will be fine. I'm in that fine category. Asian research director, I think fine as of today. You know, depends. Even if they have evidence, I just don't buy it. Again, I think this is a smokescreen because it kept Letitia James from investigating the nursing home debacle. And the Justice Department has already said they're not going to push that, which is unconscionable, if you ask me. Hello, Jim Beam. He'll be reassigned. Reassigned to what? Rikers? Anyway. All right. There's a report. Democrat at the top of Cuomo's line of succession is preparing, should he resign, the New York Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul. The second in line of succession for the state's executive branch has repeatedly been seeking advice on what to do in her first days in office if Andrew Cuomo were to resign. The Wall Street Journal, which cited people familiar with the matter. Oh, familiar with the matter. That means they just might be making it up. Anyway, reports that Hochul was telling people in phone calls that she could end up leading this New York government in mere weeks. These purported phone calls included her seeking advice on which officials from the governor's office she should retain and who she should hire. So, interesting development that she's openly saying this to somebody. Now, here's some tweets she had where she, a while back, saying sexual harassment is unacceptable in any workplace and certainly not in public service. The AG's investigation has documented repulsive and unlawful behavior by the governor towards multiple women. I believe these brave women admire their courage in coming forward. No one's above the law. Under New York's Constitution, the Assembly now determines the next step. So they have an impeachment process in New York. There is no form of recall in the state of New York, so it would require the legislature to dump him. And she seems to be angling towards what she's going to do if he resigns. So that'll be interesting. That's maybe that's foreshadowing. I still think he's not going down without a fight. And if it becomes a fight, he's a Democrat. And that's all you really need to know. Let's see. Oh, I mentioned this on, did I mention this Saturday? I don't know, but the Texas lawmakers that fled Texas are filing a suit against Governor Abbott for causing them distress. In another case that should never see the light of day, they also say they've suffered from much discomfort and embarrassment because their reputations have been impaired. Yeah, you ran away like a bunch of biatches instead of just doing your job in the legislature. The Texas Democrats who fled the state weeks ago to avoid a vote on new election laws continue to embarrass themselves and their party. They're now trying to sue Governor Greg Abbott for causing them distress, for threatening to arrest them when they return to the state. Andrew Court reports at the Daily Mail, runaway hiding distress by threatening to arrest them on their return to the state. Almost 24 Democrats who fled to Washington, D.C. last month in order to block two, quote, restrictive, end quote, voting reform bills proposed by Republicans have now filed a lawsuit against Governor Greg Abbott. Abbott, who is Republican, threatened to arrest the lawmakers when they eventually returned to the Lone Star State, which is okay under Texas law, after they packed on a private jets, unmasked, and flew to the nation's capital on July 12th. So anyway, I think there is, let's see, and then they ended up spreading COVID in Washington, D.C. because a couple of them had COVID and spread them, and they were hanging around Biden's staff and Kamala Harris's staff. That's hilarious. I mean, it's not hilarious. You hope nobody actually gets really sick from that. But anyway, hello, Chicago Mike. This one doesn't have the actual. Maybe I'll find it by the end of the show. The actual lawsuit is pretty hilarious, actually, and it's lame as hell, and it should be immediately thrown out of court, but I'm not sure if I have that tab open. Unearthed paper shows Biden-linked group demanding robust audits and admitting machines are hackable even without internet access. So, in the audit process in some of these states that are considering it after the Arizona office, and also, well, Mike Lindell's been getting a lot of shit lately. He did an interview somewhere where they thought they owned him, and I don't know if they did or not. Anyway, the 21-page document entitled 9 Solutions to Secure American Elections was written by Daniel Root and Liz Kennedy and published August 16, 2017. At the time, the political left was attempting to convince America that Donald Trump was an illegitimate president and that Russian election interference swayed the 2016 election process. To this day, losing candidate Hillary Clinton insists the election was stolen from her. Fast forward 4 years, and the corporate media alongside Democrats, that's redundant, scream in one voice that election audits are not necessary and are in fact an attack on democracy. But their 2017 sentiments beg to differ. Here's just the key quote, and you can read the rest yourself. Voting machines that record votes and tally them are run on software that is vulnerable to cyber intrusions. Well-resourced hackers, whether funded by foreign governments or criminal syndicates, have access, ability, and motivation to infect computerized voting machines and tallying systems across America. This could occur even if the machines are not connected to the internet. Attackers, for example, can deploy software such as Stuxnet and Brutal Kangaroo to target offline voting machines. And that was their reasoning for wanting paper ballots. And here's another one on the software. Old voting machines are prone to, this is recommendation number 2 of the paper. Old voting machines are prone to hacking, as many rely on outdated computer operating systems that do not accommodate modern-day cybersecurity protections. Piling on these concerns is the fact that weak chain of custody practices, mail-in voting, leave voting machines vulnerable to tampering. For example, an individual with only limited access can affect a machine with a malicious malware and other viruses that can corrupt honest vote counts. Some electronic voting machines even include accessible ports that are an open invitation to hackers who can plug in laptops or smartphones in order to add extra votes. Even with strong chain of custody practices, hackers can remotely infiltrate electronic machines' operating systems without paper ballot records. And without paper ballot records, it is impossible to know whether a hack occurs or if votes were changed. Well, even if you have paper ballots, apparently there could be issues, but I'm not going to go into that. Anyway, so what they were saying a few years ago, now they say could never happen. All right. Bloody weekend in Chicago, a female officer is the first to die in the line of duty since Lori Lightfoot took office. Thank you, Chicago Mike, for the 556, the bullet via Streamlabs, who says Democrats running away instead of doing their job. That never happens, right, Wisconsin? Yeah, that did happen in Wisconsin, too. Oh, boy, remember that? Anyway, thank you, sir, for sponsoring the show. Amid a violent weekend in Chicago with at least 66 victims shot and 8 killed, 1 police officer is dead and another is in critical condition after they were shot in the line of duty during a Saturday evening traffic stop. Now, remember, some of these defund the police people have been saying, oh, yeah, police officers don't need guns during a traffic stop. Well, they probably could have used them in this one. Chicago police said 2 officers were fired upon after a vehicle carrying 2 men and a woman was pulled over around 10 p.m. in the 6300 block of South Bell Avenue in the south side of the city. They were taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where the female officer, reportedly identified as 29-year-old Ella French, succumbed to her injuries. The second male officer remains in the hospital fighting for his life as of early Sunday morning, and as of today too. That is, he hasn't been updated. So this is just a photo of the police officers praying outside the hospital there. Chicago police officer Ella French murdered in Chicago last night during a traffic stop. Leaves behind an infant daughter. Yeah, she's just I think she's just 2 months. Her daughter's like 2 months old. She's just got back from maternity leave. Let's see. And I think I don't think I have Lori. Well, here's Lori Lightfoot. She declared look, I'm going to give her a tiny bit of credit for declaring a public day of mourning in the city. That's about all the credit I'm going to give her. We lost a young officer. Offers my condolences to her mother, brother, family, and friends. Please keep this officer and the officer in the hospital and CPD in your prayers. Some say we don't do it. Now, this was annoying. Some say we don't do enough for police. Others say we do too much. All of this must stop. We have a common enemy. And their common enemy? Well, it's guns. Oh, and the violence they bring. Oops. That didn't work. The common enemy, it's guns. Gee, I thought it was the assholes using the guns because I'm just I don't know. That's unusual. Anyway, the tragic, it's the 11th time a police officer has been shot in Chicago in 2021, as well as the first officer to die in the line of duty since Lightfoot took office in 2019, and the first female Chicago cop to die on duty since 1988. So you can read the rest of that. Gangs, it's assholes. Gangs, yes, but mostly just assholes. Why was a gun driving a car? I don't know. Isn't that weird that the enemy is guns and the violence they bring? As if there would be no violence if there were no guns. Yeah, there's been plenty of stabbings and stuff in Chicago. But anyway. And then here, yeah, Mayor Lightfoot blames guns after the officer's death. Do they have this here? Hours after Chicago police officer Ella French was killed during a traffic stop, Mayor and lawyer Lightfoot blamed guns, describing them as a common enemy. Well, no, I'm sure there's plenty of legally owned guns in the Chicagoland area that have never hurt a fly. Might have hit a deer or something, but I doubt if they've, it's the assholes with guns that are the problem, and the illegal guns that are the problem, and the gangs that are the problem, and the drug lords that are the problem, and it's not the inanimate object. Good Lord. Chicago, like all Illinois, has a red flag law, a 72-hour waiting period for gun purchases, and a firearm owner's identification card requirement for would-be gun buyers. The process for getting a FOID, which is what that card is called, includes a background check, and Cook County, Illinois, the county which Chicago is located, has an assault weapon ban. Moreover, on August 3rd, 2021, Breitbart News observed that Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed universal background check legislation, thereby criminalizing private gun sales that are conducted without first undergoing an FBI background check. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. The state that might has the most stringent gun laws, and they can't blame it on Indiana or Iowa or surrounding states. It's assholes getting guns and whatever, getting them to the criminals. Cori Bush, Cori Bush, we talked about her. She's still fighting for justice for Michael Brown. Obama's DOJ said otherwise. Democratic representative, we met Cori Bush on Friday. She's the one who said that protection for me, but not for thee. Yes, increase my security budget, but we should defund your police. She claimed Sunday that she's still fighting for justice for Michael Brown, despite several investigations that determined the correct conclusion had been reached in the case, including the Justice Department. Bush joined CNN anchor Dana Bash. Oh, another! Dana Bash has all the winners on this weekend to discuss how she was using her background as a political activist to fuel her work as a legislator. Since being elected in 2020, I'm assuming this is going to be a long one too, so we're not going to watch it. But well, the idea that she's still seeking justice for Michael Brown, seems like that case is closed, if you ask me. And every chance that they've had to overturn or make hay out of it, including wasn't that the Obama Justice Department? Wasn't that Loretta Lynch who went in there and investigated, and they just said, well, they probably got it right, I don't know. Thank you, Maddie, so much for the $5 super chat. It's funny. Dad had a Luger and a deer hunting rifle in the house, and he never killed anyone. Well, I got to tell you, those guns are just waiting to wreak havoc on, America. And so we must talk to those guns and make sure that they have a proper psych evaluation and that they don't end up in the wrong hands by accident. If they just, you know. All right, moving on. Let's see. Oh gosh, Portland cops. So apparently there was a, you know, I've had some mixed messages about this event in Portland this weekend. There was a Christian group that was doing some kind of prayer thing down by some lake and whatever, and Antifa knuckleheads showed up and started pushing them around and stealing their equipment and throwing their equipment in the lake. Now, this pastor guy, I mean, he is, I don't know how to describe him. He's known to be a little bit controversial, but they were doing nothing. I don't know. They were doing nothing. Anyway, if you wonder what it looked like when Nazi brown shirts went after churches in Germany, wonder no more. It probably looked a lot like Portland on Saturday when black bloc outfitted Antifa thugs burst onto a waterfront prayer event featuring persecuted Canadian pastor Arthur Powell. Oh, it's him. Isn't that the guy who was holding service in Canada? They wanted to arrest him. Anyway, the Antifa members sprayed those gathered, including toddlers, with chemicals and lobbed IEDs. Where's your God now? Taunted one of the attackers. Yeah, this is, so this was the event. Oh, Willamette Valley Hate Watch put this out. Alert, Portland. They feel like they can do it in Salem, so they're coming to Waterfront. Anyway, Antifa has attacked at least one church before. Antifa members organized their violent attack via Twitter and other social media platforms. They later gloated on Twitter that they had stolen the Christian group's food and water. Portland police watched and did nothing as Antifa bear sprayed parents and their kids, lobbed flash bombs into the sparse crowd, and reportedly threw the group's sound equipment into the Willamette River. Oh, the river. This being Portland, police did not arrest Antifa members for polluting the river, much less attacking people. Portland's police bureau has been defunded by at least $15 million, and there's been a mass exodus of officers retiring or going places where the rule of law is observed. Yeah, so these little shitbag Antifa fucks basically attacked these people and stole their equipment, threw some of the river, stole their food, and now, I think part of it too, the pastor group, apparently there were a few Proud Boys there just to protect them in case something like this happened. But the people who were there at the event, not the knuckleheads who attacked them, the people there at the event chose to stand down and not fight back against them. They pretty much walked away. And I don't know if they were outnumbered greatly, but they chose not to fight back. Now, local left-wing activist Pastor Chuck Curry took to Twitter to encourage the violence by characterizing the event as a MAGA political rally by people who spread misinformation on COVID-19. So this is what this guy wrote on Twitter that got the knuckleheads and the black bloc asswipes out there. Correction, it was far-right Pastor Arthur Pawlowski who apparently organized yesterday's event, not far-right Pastor Sean Fecht, who is scheduled to rally today. Both are extremists from outside Portland opposed to equality and measures to protect public health. Arthur Pawlowski and Sean Fecht are chaplains to the far-right fringes, spreading disinformation on COVID-19 and vaccines, and provocateurs intent on fostering violence. The best antidote to such hate is the radical power of love. Now that's fascinating. Because there were beatings and bear spray and all kinds of stuff, and they stole their stuff. It's very fascinating. Now, if you want to watch the videos, we're not out of time, but they're in this particular article. Moving on, Peter Breinart. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a left wing. What did he used to do? He's what is? He's a kind of a Breinart called for the elimination of the Jewish state. Ben & Jerry's tapped him to defend the Israel boycott to franchisees. Breinart told Ben & Jerry franchisees that Israel is illegally occupying territory that it seized from Jordan in 1967. Now, whatever you think of Israel, they seized territory after they were attacked and seized territory as a buffer. I don't know. It's funny because Jordan doesn't seem to be fighting to get that land back, although they say it's for Palestine. But I don't know. Ben & Jerry's brought in vocal Israel critic and anti-Zionist author Peter Breinart to talk to its store owners about Israel's illegal occupation earlier this week after the franchisees raised concerns about the company's boycott of the Jewish state, the Washington Beacon has learned. On the conference call with Ben & Jerry's franchisees and store managers, Breinart argued that Israel is illegally occupying territory that it seized from Jordan in an offensive war in 1967. Oh, no. Wait a minute. Maybe I'm getting this. The 1967 war in Israel, wasn't that when multiple states attacked Israel at once and they fought them all back? I can't remember. But an offensive war. Who was on offense in that war? Anyway, and it claimed the Jewish state sent soldiers into Palestine villages to abduct minors, according to a source familiar with the content of the call. The company's decision to invite Breinart, an advocate for the Israel boycott movement, who has called for the abolition of the Jewish state, to address insider objections, indicates that it is doubling down on its criticism of Israel in the face of internal and external fallout. So, I mean, they're allowed to do that, but even if I think they're very, very wrong, but, First Amendment, I guess. I can't say that they're not allowed. I just know who you're talking to and be aware of who's pushing the agendas. 1,500 rabbis slammed the Anti-Defamation League as unable to even identify, much less fight anti-Semitism. This is interesting because, the Anti-Defamation League started out as an anti-Semite organization. The Anti-Defamation League has strayed long distance from its stated mission to, quote, stop the defamation of the Jewish people and secure justice and fair treatment for all, end quote. For years now, it has been essentially the leftist Anti-Defamation League, espousing far-left causes and far-left cause after far-left cause, no matter how opposed these causes were to their supposed core mission of stopping anti-Semitism. Now the Coalition for Jewish Values, a coalition of over 1,500 Orthodox Jewish rabbis, is calling out the ADL for having lost the moral clarity to properly identify anti-Semitism, let alone combat it. Now, in my mind, the ADL has become a self-perpetuating grievance grifting organization that gets lots of clout from different media organizations and social media organizations. In fact, isn't it the ADL that Facebook has recently partnered with to is it Facebook or Twitter? One of the two. Recently partnered with to weed out dangerous speech. An extremist, and they're the go-to, right? Them and the SPLC, but they're self-perpetuating grievance organization. They need to have more and more racism, anti-Semitism, whatever, in order to continue to be relevant and garner those donations. So I just saying, 1,500 rabbis are calling them out, and you're supposed to be the ADL, the anti-Semitism Central. You may have an issue. All right, moving on. Obama's birthday party bash. Remember the event? Well, apparently a bunch of photos leaked over the weekend of this huge party. They had this giant tent, and so one of the DJs was taking pictures and he was posting them on Instagram, and the Obama camp or whatever were like, oh, no, don't post those. Oh, too late. Lots of people copied the photos, and basically a party full of unmasked people dancing close together and talking and whatever. No mask at the party whatsoever. Now, who was it? Was it Jen Psaki or something? Somebody was making excuses for this party that, well, these are sophisticated people who are all vaccinated and all of this. Oh, no. The CDC said even if you're vaccinated and even if you're indoors, you got to wear a mask and you got to do this and you got to do that. There wasn't a mask to be found at this party. Obama out there dancing like a, should I say it or not? I don't know if I should say what he was dancing like. White boy. Anyway, his white half took over his dance skills. I got to just say that. Ron DeSantis gives a perfect response to Joe Biden's dismissive Governor Who. Now, I don't know, when there was a clip of Joe Biden being, here it is, here's the clip. Listen to this. I don't know if this is Joe Biden being dismissive of DeSantis or just not really knowing who they asked about. Listen to this. It's only in the right, by the way, it's only in your right ear, just FYI, or it's very low in the left side. Whoever did this audio has one of the channels off. Here it is.
In most around the country lacking chips, Mr. President.
I know they are. That's why we're going to invest billions of dollars in bringing chip manufacturing to the United States. A bipartisan effort that we've gotten done. It's going to work because we can't afford. For example, we got the chair of the board of Ford here somewhere. They had to slow down production because of the lack of chips. It's a gigantic issue.
How much do you DeSantis, who is using your words about don't be in the way, and he's saying I am in the way to block too much interference from the federal government. Your response, Mr. President?
Governor who?
DeSantis. Why is it?
So, I guess the way he laughed, it was dismissive of DeSantis. But anyway, DeSantis had a response.
Do you have a comment about the comment that President Biden made recently?
Well, I guess I'm not surprised that Biden doesn't remember me. I guess the question is what else has he forgotten? Biden's forgotten about the crisis at our southern border, I can tell you that. Biden has forgotten about the inflation that's biting the budgets of families all throughout our country. Biden has forgotten about the demonstrators who are fighting for freedom down in Cuba. And Biden's even forgotten about the Constitution itself, as we saw with what he did with this moratorium. And I can just tell you, I'm the governor who protects parents in their ability to make the right choices for their kids' education. I'm the governor who protects the jobs and education and businesses in Florida by not letting the federal government lock us down. I'm the governor who answers to the people of Florida, not to bureaucrats in Washington.
All right, so the tit for tat snappy answer brigade is at it again. So there's more to the story, but you can read it yourself because I'm almost done here. Let's see. Oh, AOC says she hasn't ruled out primarying Chuck Schumer in 2022. You know what? That headline's enough. Do you think she would have a chance in hell around the rest of New York other than her goofy constituency? I don't know. I'm sorry. First of all, I bet you she could raise a good deal of money. I don't think she would have a chance on the wider range of New Yorkers. Remember, because not all New York Democrats are Brooklyn Democrats. And I just can't see it. I think people don't like her, and I don't think she would have a chance. But she says she hasn't ruled out the chance of primarying Chuck Schumer. Interesting. Now I wonder, though, if she primaries Chuck Schumer, can she still run for her own seat? Although, and with redistricting, is she still going to have a seat? That's going to be curious, too. Anyway, she would get whacked. I don't know if she'd get whacked, but... Oh, I'd love to see Chuck Schumer primary, too. I just don't know that, it'll be interesting. It'd be very interesting. In fact, I say go for it, AOC. If you... go for it. I want to see that. I want to see that fight. I mean, oh my goodness, that would be fantastic. But I'm not so much buying it. I think the party power brokers would nip that in the bud right away, because one, then you don't have, whether they keep the majority in the Senate or not, you would lose Schumer as a Senate majority leader if she would set him aside. I don't know. I guess I would love to see it now that I think about it. All right. And the rest of the headlines I got to get done because I'm already out of time here. Tom Cotton says that Democrats are using DACA to slip amnesty into the budget. They're going to put this big old budget bill out there. And I don't know if they're going to use the infrastructure bill. They're going to do reconciliation with the infrastructure bill. But I know as they're writing the budget, they're trying to add in the DACA program because, the court said that you had to have it done legislatively. So now, again, that could be appealed, but there was a judge that said DACA is unconstitutional, which it is. It's a law and program built out of thin air by the President of the United States with no legislative input. So I can understand why that it might not be constitutionally sound, but they got away with it for a while. And then the president too is the president simply cannot say he's not going to enforce an entire category of our laws. So the case was rightly decided, according to Cotton. He's talking about DACA. But as they write in this new DACA law, they're going to try to also push a little bit of amnesty by people. And, the way, I don't know, they might slip it through because there's a lot of Republicans that are kind of soft on that particular topic and won't fight back. Interesting. Read the article. Biden administration's COVID double standard. Tourists must now provide proof of vaccination. Illegal immigrants get a free pass. So this is just talking about how many of the migrants and the people who've crossed the border illegally, who are going through these detention centers, they're testing positive for COVID, but they're still being sent through. While people who just come here to travel and tourist or whatnot have to provide a proof of vaccination. Very strange situation indeed. You can read that one. And also, it's not just adults. Apparently 20% of migrant children are testing positive for COVID after release by the Border Patrol. A leaked presidential briefing document reported by NBC News revealed that 20% of unaccompanied migrant children who illegally cross the border are testing positive for stupid-19 after being released into communities by Border Patrol. The report covers the last 2 to 3 weeks of data prepared for President Joe Biden. And that's not good. They're just releasing them into the I said atmosphere. They're just releasing them into the country, and they're COVID positive. And where's the quarantine and all this other stuff? Anyway, that's the hypocrisy, though. That's the hypocrisy of the administration. And then a couple of interesting articles. In a Facebook fact-checking outlet was trying. It says, an editor for Lead Stories, a fact-checking outlet working for social media platforms including Facebook and TikTok, has attempted to coerce advertisers into dropping conservative media outlets as clients in social media posts unearthed by the National Pulse. The unearthed post on Twitter from Lead Stories copy editor Leslie Lapidus, following the outlet's founder and editor-in-chief Alan Duke repeatedly denying allegations of left-wing bias. Contrary to Duke's insistence, Lapidus has tweeted at least 4 times in support of a Sleeping Giants campaign targeting advertisers listed on Breitbart News. And if you don't know who Sleeping Giants is, that's basically their whole spiel. They try to get advertisers to drop right of center news outlets, publications, and things like that. So she's a big ally to Sleeping Giants, and they show several tweets where she is being supportive of that organization. All right, and then let's see what else is in here. There's a good editorial in the Federalist about how the reason they're trying to in order to make DeSantis look bad, the media is trying to get you to forget about Andrew Cuomo in New Jersey and all that. And in fact, like we said, the day that Letitia James came out with her report on Andrew Cuomo, what did CNN do? Well, Chris Cuomo made the whole beginning of his show about DeSantis. That's a strategy. Now, Chris Cuomo is now on a, what do you call it? A vacation leave, just a convenient leave at this time of, whatever, great great amount of Andrew Cuomo news. They're having special reports on CNN at night, but yeah, so the media is so busy ripping on Abbott and Ron DeSantis, trying possibly to make you forget about Andrew Cuomo. But we don't forget. We don't forget. And let's see. Oh, the infrastructure bills cleared a major obstacle in the Senate. All they did is they voted to, they're going to debate on it now, even though they don't have an official bill. But Senate Republicans gave Joe Biden a major victory Saturday when 17 of them voted to allow the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill to proceed to the floor. This means they can start debate on the floor over it. This is one, for whatever reason, the 17, about half the Republicans want to be able to say something. They accomplished something, I'm guessing. I would rather they not accomplish something and not waste any of our money. But, that's just how the cookie crumbles. Anyway, so it is going on to debate in the Senate. And Trump says the infrastructure bill is the beginning of the Green New Deal, which, they're putting a lot of crap in that bill that has nothing to do with infrastructure. And I think the reason it's no longer $3.5 trillion in the Senate, and I think it dropped down to $1.2 trillion, is the Senate dumped a lot of that stuff. So hopefully a lot of the crap that they were putting in it in the House never goes through the reconciliation process where they still put some of it back in. But if there are pet projects for the high-powered in Congress and the Senate, there's going to be a lot of BS thrown into that bill. So, Senate launches effort to expand federal bench by 77 judges. The Senate or Senate Democrats. Todd Young. I guess Todd Young, a Republican for Indiana, and Chris Coons, Democrat of Delaware, introduced a bill last month that would expand the federal judiciary by 77 judges starting in 2025. That could be because the increase in cases. I don't know. To me, this seems like a foreshadowing to try to add to the Supreme Court too, and I'm skeptical, but you can check that out in Breitbart. Iowa Senator Jody Ernst strikes back at California's anti-bacon bill. Uh-oh. So for whatever reason, California is a huge consumer as a state of pork. And California is trying to put a law together for how sale of pork in California. You can't sell pork in California from farms where the pig is raised in less than 24 square feet of space. And since only about 4% of the nation's farmers do that, it would eliminate 96% of pork suppliers from the California market unless they all made these huge expansions. One farmer I was reading about that they said he would have to spend $3 billion on changes to his farm to be able to accommodate the California law. And since they again, for whatever reason, California is besides the fact that it's a huge population state, is a huge consumer of pork. And now more than 20 states have challenged the California law, and Iowa farmers have said complying with the legislation will cost them millions. Yes. And so, there's a big fight about that. But don't mess with my bacon. I'm just saying, don't mess with my bacon. I'm going to leave the Olympic stuff to tomorrow, but there's a couple articles here at the end, but I'm out of time. So, hey, gang, thank you so much for dropping in today. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button now. We got 24 likes, 39 people here, still here. And it's the California cow and dairy farms are fucked. Oh, they totally are. But the problem is because California consumes so much of those products, other states would have to comply to sell their products there. And especially in Iowa, the Midland states, particularly Iowa, giant pork producing state, it really could hurt Iowa because they sell a lot of pork in California. They sell a lot of pork everywhere. They're a huge pork producing state. So, and it would cause the prices of different animal products, period, to skyrocket even more than they already are. But you know what? I just think the people of California, the legislators, they are so out of touch with the idea of economics. They just want everything to be this and that and good and nice. They're playing up to the animal rights crowd. So anyway, all right, I do got to go. Hey, thanks for being here. Hit the like button, hit the share button. Thank you for those who have sponsored the show today: Thomas Cleaver and Black Keeper Israelite, Chicago Mike, and Maddie. Greatly appreciated. Also from the weekend, Fight for Your Rights and Tarai Deos. Thank you for sponsoring the show, and all of you who participate in the chat and hit the like buttons. Oh, by the way, if you're watching a replay, or even if you have to go back and watch the rest of the show, please put a comment in the comment section. I guess that really does help. I'm not sure why, but interactions help. So put something in there, and then also thank you for participating in the chat today. Okay, that's it for today. Time for me to go. My name is PDawgKnight. And I'm out of here. Sorry for the abrupt ending. Bye-bye. Hey, this is PDawgKnight, and thanks for watching today on the PDawgKnight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cashapp, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm PDawgKnight, and I'm out of here.